Hi everyone, this is Balázs from RacingBrick. After all the City and Speed Champions Formula 1 reviews, we are now entering the big leagues and starting the Technic reviews with the Ford 2207 Ferrari SF-24 F1 car. To celebrate these new releases, we have a brand new RacingBrick t-shirt available, actually two, but the second one is still a secret. You can find them in the shop by clicking on the link below. LEGO is releasing two similar 1/8 scale Technic F1 cars in March. I asked you in a community post which one you wanted to see first, and apparently the Ferrari won. Here's the box, nice red color scheme, no surprise, it's an 18+ set as usual. The back shows a different angle of the car, the dimensions, two close-ups of some details and the real deal. Let's open the box. The set has 1361 pieces, the recommended retail price is 230 euros or dollars, and it will be officially released on the 1st of March. It can be pre-ordered in certain countries, you can find the link below. In the box there are 10 numbered bags, 2 unnumbered ones with the rims and some other parts and 1 loose piece. Also included was a small cardboard box containing the 4 printed and unfortunately identical tires. This paper envelope has the instructions and 2 rather large sticker sheets. The manual begins with a nice double picture of the real car and the LEGO version, followed by some information about the Ferrari team, the car, the features and a few words from the designers. Here is the parts list if you're interested. Now let's start building. And the very first element is a brand new one, a 7x8 wishbone piece. Apparently we start the build with the front axle and the suspension. Hard springs are added, that looks like the usual configuration. The steering rack is in place and we have brand new 8 module long links connecting it. This set has a whole bunch of new elements, that's the next one, it's going here this time. And the first stickers, I didn't expect them to appear so soon. Next up is the wheel hub, and we have yet another new element, these ones have to be attached to the toe balls. This is what our assembly looks like, it goes in place, this is the steering link, this is the push rod, and we need to connect it to the wishbones. Same configuration on the other side, we can already see the steering and suspension in action. So, this is our build after the first bag. We have quite a few gears here, all related to steering. I really wonder if we can align the wheels and the steering wheel properly this time. So, here's the steering wheel. I'm assuming this output goes to the steering rack, this one probably goes to the hand-of-God steering knob, and unfortunately, because of the number of gears involved, we are not going to have fully aligned wheels. Yeah, we've been over this a few times. There will be people in the comments section who will be annoyed by this, and others who will try to convince them that they've managed to get everything perfectly aligned. Sorry to waste your time now, but I want to briefly show you what the situation is and why it's more of a theoretical annoyance than a practical one, but it exists nonetheless and can be completely fixed with this configuration. As you can see, when the steering wheel is straight, the red cross-axle is rotated. This happens because we have two 8-tooth gears. If the upper one, which is connected to the steering wheel, is straight, then the lower one is inevitably rotated. Now here's the question, how did we align our blue 12-tooth gear on the steering rack, because there were no special instructions for that. If you install it centered, the cross-axle will also be centered just like the output, so it will not match with the cross-axle coming from the steering wheel. The workaround is to rotate the gear by one tooth and put it that way in the center of the steering rack, then you can easily connect the cross-axles. You might think the problem is solved because the wheels and the steering wheel seem to be aligned. Almost. The problem is this, the output of the steering wheel is rotated 22.5 degrees because of the two 8-tooth gears used, and the cross-axle coming from the steering rack is rotated 30 degrees because there is one 12-tooth gear there. So there is still a difference of 7.5 degrees between the two cross-axles. Since LEGO gears are not very precise, there is always a gap between the parts, so you can easily align things to seem okay. If you are fine with this, that's good for you. For everyone else, it remains an annoyance because LEGO mechanics are supposed to teach kids about real life, and your car mechanic certainly wouldn't like this setup in your vehicle. Anyway, let's move on. The frame is now reinforced and we have prepared the connection for the hand-of-God steering. End of phase 2. We start assembling the rear axle and begin with the shock absorbers. Here comes the differential. Make sure the CVs are inserted correctly. We also install the components of the very simple 2-speed gearbox. We add one of the wheel hubs, there's a whole bunch of things to connect here, so pay close attention. When both sides are finished, we can test the pull rod suspension. The next phase starts with the engine. These parts look familiar, but we have brand new engine block pieces, and the support block has also been redesigned. For reference, here are the old parts. Apparently, someone decided to get rid of the studded Technic heritage. I kind of understand this part as it fits better into the studless system, but I'm a little confused here. What are the benefits exactly? If you have any ideas, please let me know in the comments. Anyway, here's the V6, so let's hook it up to the gearbox, and you can see the different speeds the engine reaches in the two different gears. Here's an interesting contraption to put on the engine. When the gears are engaged, these parts start spinning. They represent the MGU-H unit, as it says in the introduction of the manual, which is the energy recovery system. And we have two red selector levers next to each other for some unknown reason. Normally one is enough to shift gears. We will hopefully see later why we had to use two. Now it's time to put the two assemblies we built so far together. A whole bunch of frames and other parts are added to make the whole thing quite sturdy. End of phase 4. Here is the knob for the hand of God steering on top of the camera pod. Here comes the seat, and then the sticker parade begins. We are starting to use more panel fairings, and here is a new one, 5x2, which expands the family. We now have 3 different widths. This large assembly comes with a whole bunch of attachment points. This will be the floor apparently. The same goes to the other side. End of phase 6. Here's the next big chunk of bodywork, and this is an unexpected sticker tile with the Ferrari logo. Bag 8 contained practically only parts for the rear wing, but a whole lot of stickers were used. Oh, and here's a minifigure hockey stick. The next bag has the front wing with all the different layers of panel fairings. It goes in place, and we finish the front section with this panel here. The final phase includes the halo, this time with not one but 2 flex axles. The number of system parts used in this build is surprisingly small. The last thing we build is the engine cover. This is perhaps the most complex assembly in the set, and I think that says a lot about it. It simply slides in place like this. And finally, the wheels. Here are the rims, the nice printed wheel covers, and the tires, which are also printed. They are packed in a separate box. There's just one huge problem. All tires are the same. If you are even slightly interested in Formula 1, you know exactly why that's a major issue. But let's put the wheels on, check the finished construction, and come right back to this. So, here's our finished 1/8 scale Formula 1 Ferrari, and I think it looks pretty cool. Red and black always works for LEGO. We know there are a lot of fans of this color combination. So, the first impression is good, but what about the details? Let's look at the functions first. We have hand of God steering with the knob up here. It's very easy to turn the wheels, and the steering wheel turns too. It's almost centered, but with a little hack implemented during the build, it will be good enough for most people. There is working suspension, push rod at the front, pull rod at the rear. The suspension travel is pretty good, but I'm not 100% sure if that's a compliment or a complaint on an F1 car. The engine cover comes off easily as it's not held on by anything, so you have to be careful if you want to hang it on the wall. We can see the V6 engine with the new parts, connected to the rear wheels via the differential and the spinning MGU-H unit. We also have a simple 2-speed gearbox with a strange double lever to operate it. When we put the engine cover back on, the reason for this solution becomes clear, as the fin in the middle is directly above the lever. The execution now makes more sense, although the 2 red cross axles still look a bit unfinished to me. I'm not sure if you want to shift gears at all with the engine cover on, because apart from the speed of the engine, which is not visible like this, there is no other effect. Is there any other function? Well, the rear wing can be adjusted manually, that's all. And what about the appearance? As I said, the first impression is positive. There are parts I like. The intake here, for example, is well captured. I found the halo solution a bit odd at first glance, but the real one has double red and black paint, so it kind of makes sense. The front is also okay. The nose looks a bit unfinished, but I'm glad we didn't get a solution like the Mercedes. As you could see in the suspension test, the car sits quite high. That's okay for the front wing, it's realistic, but the floor in the middle should definitely be lower. The difference between the floor and the front wing is 1 module. In reality, it should be more like 2, I think. You wouldn't be able to play much with the suspension in that case, and as we know, these cars tend to get lower over the years, so I understand the decision that was made here, but it doesn't add to the look. I'm not sure about that 2x3 tile with the Ferrari logo either, it looks out of place. And of course the elephant in the room, the tires. We got wider rear tires at the rear for the Speed Champions and Icons F1 cars this year, but not for Technic. Why? This is such an important detail of Formula 1 cars that it is even represented in this tiny scale now, why not in such a large model? Yes, we finally have printed tires, that's great, but why stop there? I know the budget for new parts is limited, but honestly, proper rear tires for Formula 1 cars would have a much bigger impact than the new mold for the engine block, for example. LEGO will not stop making 1/8 scale F1 cars, especially with the new partnership that has been signed, so these would be used in multiple sets and on very visible large-scale products. Anyway, that's it for today, as we have one more Technic F1 car to build and compare with this one, as well as a comparison with LEGO sets from previous years and some competitors as well. I will then talk about the overall value and my impressions of both new Technic F1 releases. Please let me know what you think about the set so far, the build experience and the look. Let's talk about it in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe with notifications, as there will be more exciting LEGO videos coming soon. See you next time, bye bye.